Hello and welcome to Roots of Sustainable Impact. I'm your host, Eloisa Marquez Gonzalez. And today I'm so excited about this episode, and I'm going to tell you why. I am an operations strategist, so I help design and implement processes, systems, and structures in organizations. However, the secret sauce to make everything work, it's people. You will hear me say it over and over again. Business and everything in this life and world starts and ends with people. So I am very excited today to have my friend Eric Girard from Girard Training Solutions here in the show. And we're going to talk about people, about how do we help them and be the best managers they can. How do we set them up for success? So let's get started. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a joy to be here.
Wonderful. And why don't we start by you telling my listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and also the impact that you are looking to have in this world.
Okay. So personally, I recently moved to the Seattle area from the Bay Area. So we lived in the Seattle area for 4 years. We came up during the pandemic. I have twin 15-year-old daughters, and for fun, when I'm not teaching, I'm actually a scuba instructor on the weekends. So that's a little bit about what we're up to. We're a really active family. My wife is studying to be a yoga teacher, and she also loves to be on the water. So she loves to row and kayak and paddleboard, and I like to be under the water. And my kids love to be anywhere around the water. So we're a really active family. Professionally, my whole thing is helping new managers transform from being great individual contributors, great employees, to outstanding people managers. And so I focus on teaching managers the soft skill of how to manage a team, whether that's setting goals or delegating, coaching, providing feedback, helping the team manage change, rewards and recognition. Those are all the sorts of things that I focus on. And so I have a book called Lead Like a Pro, The Essential Guide for New Managers, and I have a course based on that book. I also have almost 20 other courses that all help managers transform and be the best manager they can be.
Wonderful. And we'll have links to all those resources on the show notes. So wonderful. So for today's conversation, I would love to start with one of your posts from this past week. I thought it was perfect for the industry in which we operate and the climate critical space. And because in the climate critical space, we bring people from so many different disciplines together. And how your post relates to this from how I see it is you were talking about teaching your scuba class this past weekend and how the visibility was not that good. So if you can tell us a little bit, tell us a post, because I'm not going to do it justice. So I would love if you tell us a story on what happened and how did management come along, the conversation about management.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So my favorite dive site to take new students to in the Seattle area is a place called Mukilteo. It's a town on the shore, not far from Seattle, and I love it because it's convenient. It's easy to get to. There's plenty of places to eat nearby, and it's easy to get down from the place where you actually set your gear up down into the water. It's pretty easy. There's actually a sand beach, which is fairly rare around here. And we got into the water and realized right away that the visibility was terrible. And when I say terrible, I mean 2-3 feet, maybe up to 6 feet. This is very common in the Pacific Northwest and along the Pacific coast during the summer because the heat of the sun causes plankton to bloom, and you also get upwellings from the deeper parts of the ocean. And so all these nutrients and things come up to the surface and make our life as scuba divers challenging. The visibility is actually better in the winter and early spring because all these things die and sink to the bottom of the ocean. So anyway, My dive master and I realized that visibility was really bad. And so we took the class. We had a class of 9 people, which is a lot. Normally you cap at 8, but I took a ninth. We divided them into 2 groups, one group of 4 and one group of 5, and then started to go through the checkout dives of having them demonstrate that they could do the skills that I had taught them in the pool the weekend before. And because the visibility was so bad, and because folks are not used to wearing really thick wetsuits and carrying a lot of weight, there's just a lot of foreign things that happen. Things can become a little chaotic sometimes. So I wound up having 2 people have panic attacks and needed to get them out of the water. One person actually gave me the out of air symbol when we were underwater, and I needed to get her up to the surface and get her buoyant so that she could breathe and relax. 2 people had panic attacks. One person had a serious ear issue, and we had to get her out of the water and have her go see her doctor. One person woke up with a cold on Sunday morning, and so he didn't even come. And then one person was related to the person with the ear issue, and so he decided he would stay out as well. So I wound up certifying, out of 9, I certified 4. And so the way that this relates to management is a lot of it is decision making in the moment, where it's like, okay, you're signaling to me you're having an emergency. Okay, best thing to do is to get you an alternate air source. Can't do that. Okay, then we're going up. And we need to make these decisions very quickly, and then stabilize the situation by putting air on the person's buoyancy control vest so they can lie back and float and catch their breath. Panic attacks mean calming the person underwater and having them surface calmly so that they don't get hurt, so they don't get the bends. If you come out too fast from depth, you can get hurt. And then making decisions about, okay, well, if you've got a cold, I don't even want you to come to the dive site. I want you to stay home and get better, because diving with a cold is a really, really bad idea. You won't be able to equalize your sinuses. So all these decisions have to be made in the moment, quickly, and it's got to be the right decision, because in this case, it can mean life or death. It's usually not life or death in management, but it can have big decisions in with your business. If you make the wrong decision in the moment, you can cost your company a lot of money. And so having those repetitions, having those reps, having done it a lot, and constantly being a student, thinking about how can I do this better? How can I do this better? That all comes into play.
Wonderful. So I must say that your post on LinkedIn about this story did not make justice to everything that you went through, and you really brought up your management skills to deal with all these different issues. And just as you mentioned, the way that I was looking at it was all these issues that you had can be translated to regulatory changes for a business, or your demand increases, your demand decreases. You have new people in the team, all these different things that folks need to be able to account for. So we know in our organizations, there's new people coming in. There's many young businesses, new young companies. So there's young managers as well. So what it is, can you talk to us a little bit about the misconceptions or the things that new managers need to account for, and the managers of new managers? Because it's not just a person that is becoming a manager, the one who has to be aware of this, of the challenges or learning curve that this person will go through, but also the manager of the new manager. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yep. I think the first thing that a new manager and their boss needs to understand is that there is a psychological change that the new manager has to go through fairly quickly from, I am an individual contributor, I am an employee who gets paid for creating something, for following a process, for doing something. I'm a doer. Moving from that to I am now paid for getting results through other people. That's a huge psychological shift that a lot of folks don't make unless they're coached through it. What happens a lot is somebody is the best, say, financial analyst. So you're on a team of financial analysts and you're the best one. You have the highest potential. And your boss says, I want you to lead this team. So I'm going to promote you. You're going to be the boss of the team, the manager of the team. Okay. Without training, without coaching, the new manager will say, okay, well, what got me here was being the best financial analyst. So I'll just keep doing that. I'll just be the best financial analyst I can be. And then everybody can follow me and do what I do. That doesn't work well because without the ability to actually properly lead a team, the team winds up aimless. They don't understand what they're supposed to be doing. Everybody goes off in their own direction doing what they think is best. And it becomes disconnected at best and chaotic at worst. And so what I would coach the manager of managers to do is to really help the new manager understand, okay, you were the best financial analyst, say the best engineer, the best fill in the blank. Now your role is completely different. And I'm going to provide you with the training and the learning and the books and the videos you need to make this transition so that you can lead your team rather than continuing on with what got you here. Because there's a great saying, what got you here won't get you there. And you need to let go of your old job and take on a completely new job.
Exactly. And I love that saying because it's so true. And we all have to be reminding ourselves that how do I need to be acting differently? And I feel that in this space, there's so many moving parts that you need to be catching yourself and figuring out, so how do I move forward? And so continue with the new managers. What are some key skills that you believe that they should have if you cannot focus on improving everything as a manager? But what are some of the key areas that can set up folks for success, and new managers moving into their new role?
Once you've made that psychological transition from I'm a doer to I'm a leader, then I would say very high on the list is learning how to delegate, learning how to let go of things. And that might involve some grieving. So for example, when I started Girard Training Solutions, I thought, hey, I'm a smart guy. I can do all the things. I can design, develop, and deliver the programs. I can run the website. I can do my books. I can do it all. Absolutely. I can do this. I can run a very lean organization. And the first thing I ran into was that the website got away from me and I got stuck and couldn't make it do what I needed it to do. And it was going to take me hours. I could just tell this was going to take me hours of research to figure out how to make, I think it was Weebly I was using at the time, how to make Weebly do what I wanted it to do. So I brought in my friend and colleague, Sandra, and said, would you please take over the website? She's like, yeah, I got this, no problem. But I was sad because I liked playing with the website. So there was a little grieving of letting go of that particular part of my business, but I had to in order to move forward. So delegation is super important, even if it makes you a little sad. That's really important. Then I would say setting goals is very important. My favorite goal setting method is the SMART method. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and trackable. Setting goals that are easy for folks to understand and follow and implement is really important. And so I would really encourage new managers to learn how to set goals and then track those goals. I would also encourage new managers to become excellent coaches and be providers of excellent feedback. I use the GROW model. It's my favorite model for setting goals. GROW stands for goals, reality, options, and way forward. And I happen to have my favorite book du jour in front of me here, The Coaching Habit by Michael Bungay-Stanier. Michael talks about 7 questions you can ask in order to move a coaching conversation forward. So really, really helpful stuff there. And then providing feedback using the SBI model, situation, behavior, and impact. Really helpful to let people know how they're doing. And, whether you did something well or not, being able to provide good, timely feedback is important. So those are just some of the things that I would mention to a new manager and to their boss.
Wonderful. And on the goal setting, I also want to mention that it is very important to ensure that those goals, once you do the SMART goals, as you mentioned, they are to ensure they are aligned to the company priorities. Because you can have the best goals, really smart goals, literally, and but they are not aligned to what the company is trying to achieve. So you want to hit that balance, and it's about collaboration with your leadership folks and with your manager to ensure that you are on the same page on what are priorities, where are you moving towards.
Absolutely. That A in SMART can stand for a couple of different things. I like achievable because I like setting goals that aren't going to completely stump people. But different versions of SMART call that aligned. And it goes right to the point you just made.
Yes. Yeah, I have seen it with the achievable, which is it's also a point. Actually, why don't we talk a little bit about this? Because I have heard there's different philosophies of, do we make it achievable? Well, it is too easy to achieve, if by definition. So how do we stretch our goals? How do we stretch what we can do? So there's some leadership that likes to set goals that you're not going to hit, and then there's others that want to make something more realistic. Is there do you have any advice on how to hit a middle ground here, where yes, you're stretching your teams, but you're not becoming unrealistic? Because that can also hit the morale of folks when you're like, oh yeah, we set this goal, but we're not gonna meet them. So do you have any thoughts there?
My favorite thing is to set stretch goals. So what I mean by that is, for example, Eloisa will create a new business plan for her organization by October 30th. To exceed the goal, I can say, okay, Eloisa, that meeting the goal that's table stakes. That's what I expect of you. But if you want to exceed the goal and be eligible for a bonus or be eligible for some other reward, then I would rewrite the goal or add to the goal and say, Eloisa will create a new business plan for her organization by October 15th. And so just as an example, we could use time as one way to stretch. And having you do something faster could be one way to do it. Or you could increase the scope of the thing. But what's nice about that is you create a range of standards. It's like, okay, meeting it and, just meeting my expectations is this. But if you want to exceed expectations and receive more rewards, more recognition, then do this.
Great. And again, it requires that conversation with your upper management and then with your team.
Oh yeah, this is all about communication. If you walk around assuming things, or if you assume, well, they already understand, they already know, then you're probably not going to get what you want. So having clear conversations with your team, your boss, and so on is crucial.
And how do we get them engaged in this conversation of goal setting?
One thing I do is I spell out three things with my folks. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? And with them. And with them stands for what's in it for me. So, what are we up to? Why are we doing this thing? And then what do I, Eric, get for sitting down and setting goals with Eloisa? So if Eloisa is my boss and she wants to sit down with me, why would I do that? Why don't I just do what I'm doing? And so if you as my boss say, look, this is what and why, and this is what you get, all right, in terms of increased clarity, in terms of maybe increased money, increased responsibility, like there's something in it for you to sit down and have this conversation, aside from I'm your boss and I asked for a meeting. So those are the three things I always use: what, why, and with them.
Beautiful. And that could take us into a whole change management conversation that I think we will leave for a different episode, because I want to stick to the how do we manage better as a new manager? How do I work better with my team? And so I want to shift a little bit into the fact that in the climate critical space, we're bringing people from so many different disciplines and so many different backgrounds, which is beautiful. However, that also requires us to know how to work with folks from different styles, from different backgrounds, different ways of thinking, perspectives, etc. So, what are some techniques or some tools that they could use to work with those people more effectively?
Oh, I've got just the thing. My favorite tool for this is DISC. This is something that's been around for a long time. It's based on Jungian psychology, and the whole idea is that you ask folks to take a brief assessment, and then the assessment creates a report, and the report shows where you sit in 4 different areas. So DISC stands for dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness. And most people are a combination of one or more of these things. So, for example, my style is DI. I'm highly dominant and also highly influential. So I love to go to networking events. I love to be together. So, for example, I keep bugging Deb's on to have a conference so we can all get together and meet each other in person. And being the high D, the high dominant, I keep pushing. Come on, Deb, when are you going to do this? So dominance, influence, steadiness, conscientiousness, and by understanding your own style, understanding your particular style and your particular combination of styles and where your influences are, and then learning how to speed read other people's styles, you can learn how to adjust and adapt your style to meet the other person where they're at. So, for example, based on what I know of you, having known you for a little while, I would say you're probably in some version of a high C, a high conscientiousness person. You like facts, you like data. And by learning how to speed read folks' styles, and then you do the adjusting. So I'm not going to force you to adjust to me. I'm going to adjust to you. I'm going to give you more facts and more data and more thorough explanations because I know that's going to make you feel better. And then that's going to help us get along and get things done more effectively than if I just say, well, I'm a DI and you have to adjust to me. And you say, well, I'm a C and you have to adjust to me. And we just stay far apart. Mm-hmm. But if instead we both come together, then we're going to get better results. We're going to have a better interpersonal relationship. We're going to get things done. And it's going to be more pleasant.
Yes, and I can say that you read well. The DISC, yes, I am in the analytical or the C side. I'm also in the D. I have some D and C come together. And when I come to work, I took a different test. The Discovery, it has 4 different colors. And I have the empathy. When I go to work, my empathy shoots up. I care about how people do their work, how efficient they are, how fulfilling is their work and what they're doing. So, yeah, very, very cool. So yes, so how do people get their hands on a DISC test? Can they go to your site? Do they go? Is there a specific place that they need to go? Do you have to take some training? How do you get this type of information if you're curious about how you or your team in general, where do they sit so you can work better together?
Probably the simplest thing is, for example, to come to a provider's website like mine. So you can go to Girard Training Solutions and go to Programs and Solutions, and you can find information about everything disc management, which is for managers, or everything disc workplace, which is for everybody. And then you can always book a call, and I can explain it to you, and we can go from there. The Wiley website has all the names of all the providers worldwide, so that's an option for you as well.
Perfect. I highly recommend having this type of test done for folks in your team. I did it in the past when I was when I was in corporate. I did it for my teams, and it was very insightful. And we were able to understand how we thought and how we could work better together. How do you use each other's strengths? So I like this kind of stuff. I like to understand where I'm coming from and when other people are coming from, because that's what makes things richer and allows us to understand their perspectives as well. That's
I
wonderful.
totally agree. Yeah, I enjoy it. I like it a lot.
So Eric, we're approaching the end of the episode, so I want to make sure that our new managers and the managers of new managers understand how they can get some training, because some of these organizations in the climate critical space are younger, and they say, well, this sounds like a big investment. Like, I only have a few handful of managers, so getting a full training might not be the best setting, or how I don't even know how to go about this. So can you give some guidance? Think of a small team, maybe a company of maybe less than 50 or less than 100 people. How do they get training for their managers to get them set up for success, really?
Yeah. So I offer in-house and public programs. So the in-house programs are the ones where you bring me in and I offer the training for you either in person or via Zoom. And my trainings range from an hour to 4 days. And so those all cost different amounts depending on how long they are. If you've only got a few folks and you want to get the management training, then I offer a public version of Lead Like a Pro. So that is 3 hours over 4 days. So it's 4 days times 3 hours. And you can take that for a much lower cost than if you were to bring me in-house. So if you've only got a few folks to send, just head to my website and learn about it, and then we can talk.
And these trainings are online, right? So they save the travel time.
Yeah, they're not online, but they're virtual.
Virtual. Yes.
Right. So I do all my programs either via Zoom or in person. And so via Zoom, what's really handy about that is we can bring together a global team without flying everybody together. We just pick a time that works and we run the class that works best for them.
Wonderful. And so now, are you ready for our fun question of the day?
Bring it.
So, if you could meet one person, dead or alive, who would that be and why?
Any restrictions to this question?
No, the sky's the limit.
Okay.
Or there's no
then
limit.
I'm going to say Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. Like what would it be like to talk to Jesus and have a conversation with that person, like sitting down, having a chat? I think that would be amazing.
Any particular topic that you will go into, or like what will be a good conversation to have?
So many. I've got so many questions.
Pick one. Pick one.
Why are so many people so difficult, so selfish? I think that would be interesting to talk about. And just like understanding how and why the world was created. Like, how did that work? How did that come together? I don't know. I would definitely have a lot to say and a lot to ask.
Yes. I love that why and how the world was created, and my my 2 cents on why people are difficult. I think it's just we have different perspectives, and it's about learning how to use the disc methodology that now we have, and understanding what are our perspectives. So that's very interesting. Very interesting. Wonderful. So, Eric, I know you have a couple of things, a couple of tools and services that our folks can use to help their managers. So this is the time to let folks know how they can find you and how you can help them.
Yeah. Probably the easiest way to find me is on LinkedIn. I'm Eric P. Girard on LinkedIn. You can also check out my website, which explains all the things that I do at GirardTrainingSolutions.com. I've got a book, as I mentioned, Lead Like a Pro, The Essential Guide for New Managers. That's on Amazon as a paperback, a Kindle ebook, and an Audible book. And then my podcast is Management Development Unlocked. And that is a global top 10% podcast. So those are a few ways that folks can find me.
Yes, go and listen to his podcast and listen to our episode on that podcast. So
yes, that was fun.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. And so this has been wonderful. Thank you for coming to the show. And well, folks, that's it for today. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Eloisa Marquez Gonzalez, and I will see you next time on Roots of Sustainable Impact. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.